7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. In the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
That's quite a build-up, man. And the inner circle, if they can survive, double or greatest groups in pro wrestling of all time. Nothing. Let's enjoy the audience, fellas.
You know why I chose this version? This, by the way, is from Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
AEW's pay-per-view. But this is the first time in a long time that not only did they have a live crowd, but it sounded like a fucking rock concert. And
Oh my
it was
God.
awesome.
Freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Only Jericho. Only Jericho. But ladies and gentlemen, the War Report podcast. Vince, you're in the car. Do your thing.
All right. I'm about to pull into my driveway too. Welcome to the War Report. First and only. Oh, wait a minute. Where am I? Oh, the War Report podcast brought to you by TagMeADate.com, the first and only dating site exclusively for fans of professional wrestling. The site is currently under construction, but the podcast lives on. We are here to discuss all things wrestling, and usually we skip over AEW, but this week I'm forcing you all to fucking talk about it because the show was amazing and we need to discuss it. And here we are.
Well, you know, it's amazing that you started that way because in my head, when I was kind of thinking about the flow and how we were going to do this week, I said this week we start with AEW. This week we start with Double or Nothing because, like you said, it was one hell of a pay-per-view. And what's amazing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, we sit there and we talk about, I don't know, WrestleMania or any WWE pay-per-view lately, I would say within the last year, and it's, how was the pay-per-view? It was okay. It was decent. It wasn't bad. Like, those are the comments. But then you talk about AEW, and I can't remember the last time that we said AEW pay-per-view sucked. You know, outside of maybe a sloppy finish and things like that, these things are going to happen. But at the end of the day, you know, even Kat will tell you, it did not ruin the actual show for her, and quite frankly, not for any of us or that I know of.
Yeah.
They still put on a great show. And Double or Nothing delivered on all accounts. A lot of big things happened. A lot of big surprises happened. And that's another thing, too. With AEW, we get surprise. That element of surprise is not lost with AEW like it is in WWE. You know, we always hear about shit with WWE prior. Very seldom is there a surprise. Every now and then we get one, don't get me wrong, but it's far few in between.
Right.
AEW gives you element of surprise. And since we're going there, we might as well talk about the element of surprise because not only did we get the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, joining All Elite Wrestling, we also got Lio Rush. And Lio Rush is a great fit. If he can keep his mouth shut and keep his attitude in check, he will do big things in AEW. So those were huge. Mark Henry, what a nice surprise. He looks great. Now, my question is he going to stay commentary or are we going to get Mark Henry in the ring? Because I got to tell you, they've been doing rumors that Big Show's going to get in the ring. And I'll tell you, man, what a fucking tag team would Mark Henry and Big Show be in AEW?
Yeah.
You know, I
considering
mean,
the
you could
shape
do a
they're
little,
in?
Well, not only that, but if
Mark
you put him
Henry,
in a tag
phenomenal.
team, they don't have to work long matches
Yeah.
because it's
But Mark Henry, the other advantage is Mark Henry for the last few years of WWE, while he's not been on TV, has been a talent scout and like an
Yes.
outreach guy. So he would scout out football players and NCAA wrestlers and stuff that he thought fit the bill. And then, I mean, imagine you're getting, you get recruited to the NCAA and the coach comes to you. You're like, oh, you should play football here. Imagine Mark Henry.
Listen, a great example of that. A great example of that with Mark Henry is Bianca Belair.
Yeah, and imagine
Mark Henry's the one that discovered Bianca Belair and put her on the map with
and a
Vince
guy
McMahon.
of Mark Henry's stature in wrestling. And imagine me saying this 10 years ago. I wouldn't believe myself if I said it. But Mark Henry has become an elder statesman of wrestling and is one of those guys that if you sent them on a recruiting thing, people are going to know who he is, whether it's through the Arnold Classic, the World's Strongest Man thing, through pro wrestling, through the Guinness Book of World Records, whatever else it is. Like, they're going to know about this guy. So it's a great addition to have, even if he doesn't wrestle, because he's going to be able to look at the people that they have at the Nightmare Factory. He's going to be able to look at talent from outside and bring him in. So it's a win-win. And if he wrestles, or if he's a manager and him and Taz each have a faction, and then Taz's faction feuds with Mark Henry's faction, and they're just all a bunch of big dumb fucking meatheads beating the shit out of each other, I'm fine with it.
Either way, it's a huge asset. You're right. I mean, just to have a guy of his caliber and his know of the business. On my end, you're very in and out. I don't know if that's happening for everyone else or if it's on my end.
Here.
Because my internet's been pretty shitty today.
Oh, okay. All right.
I can hear you.
What did she say? It's probably on my end. I apologize if I jumped on you.
No, I'm making sure.
But somebody like Mark Henry.
Jump on if it was a jump on.
It would have been
God,
a
it might be odd one out if all you guys are jumping. Shit.
I don't know the last time I've actually physically jumped for anything. It's probably been several years.
Oh, come on. When Daniel Bryan won, you jumped. You know that.
Yeah, at WrestleMania 30, I jumped right out of my seat and left the arena. Oh, man. All right.
I didn't say it was a good jump or a bad jump. I just said it was a jump.
That might have been.
She didn't say good, bad. She just a jump occurred.
Right. Yes, the jump happened to occur that day.
And then the osteoporosis kicked in, and he's never done it again after that.
Hey, I went to the chiropractor today. This is the best I've felt in a long time. I'm not saying I could do cartwheels or anything, but I mean, I feel human, so that's an advantage.
What are you doing to go to the chiropractor for? You're like, what, 30-something?
Yeah, I know. And my excuse should be that I worked in the wrestling business for 15 years, but I'm a ring announcer, so that really doesn't count.
You
don't have to include that part.
You took some bumps.
Yeah.
You took some bumps.
I've taken some bumps.
Hey, you took some bumps.
Listen,
I mean, let's not,
neck right now. I have a feeling that when Frankie Arion hit me with that belt, that's why I have that pinched nerve in my neck. I think that's what it is. We never settled that.
It's very possible.
But anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell
he's still owed a receipt for that one. He's still owed a receipt for that one.
I've been waiting 4 years for that one.
So listen, I want to kind of, I want to kind of dissect the AEW pay-per-view. Absolutely, and I guess I don't remember the order, but it started with the NWA Women's Championship. No, Deeb and Rio.
Yeah, that was the
opener,
the buy-in match. Yeah.
All right, what did we all think of that? I mean, Deeb they're both great, but Deeb's always been on my radar. I mean, she was great in WWE too, even when they forced her to shave her head.
She was with Punk, right, in the Straight Edge Society for a little while.
Yeah, remember, and she shaved her head and all that.
She got caught in bars.
Oh my God, she was amazing.
She's a great talent. Really, and she was before she went to AEW. She was working NXT, wasn't she? She was training the young kids.
She was a trainer over at NXT, and then took the opportunity to be
Steven.
On camera.
You always call me Ripley. Now I can say it was a Serena Deeb that was going for the Straight Edge Society look. Good call.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Wait, what did I say?
Shaved head. I like it.
You guys always call
You
me
call her
Ripley,
Ripley because of shaved
from
head.
Alien for my haircut. I said, no, I'm pulling a straight edge society, even though I'm probably the most anti-straight edge society, but that's okay.
That's true. That's true. So that was a good match. A great way to start it off. You know, it got the energy going.
And the crowd was.
Oh, how nice was it to have a live crowd?
For it.
It was so nice to have a live crowd. It just, you know, we say it so many times, but it's the truth, man. It makes such a difference to have a live crowd. Such a difference.
Little bit.
It absolutely does, man. And Serena Deeb is like, and I don't want to oversell this, and I'm going to say a very big name here, but I'm just using this as comparison. Serena Deeb is a modern Bret Hart of the women's division in that she can wrestle a Japanese wrestler, a lucha wrestler, an American style wrestler, and have a good match with all of them.
That's a great comparison. I agree with that.
And I'm not saying that she's at the level, because obviously Bret is a Hall of Famer and a champion and all this stuff, but she is just workhorse like of that division, able to put on great matches with. I mean, we've seen it with Layla Hirsch. We've seen her put on a match with Thunder Rosa. We've seen her put on with Riho. Every match she has is like they're awesome.
Vince, at the end of the day, if she has not already solidified her spot in the WWE Hall of Fame, then the Hall of Fame means shit. You know what I mean? She's that kind of talent. She is, in my eyes, already a future Hall of Famer for sure. And it's not, you know, her in ring has a lot to do with it, but you know, it's everything that goes along with it. You know, I don't know. I've always been a big fan of her work. I think she's great. So, all right. So moving on, the next match we had Brian Cage and we had Hangman Page. I'm a big fan of Hangman Page. I always have been. So, you know, what are our feelings on that match?
I didn't catch most of it.
Big thumbs up on that one.
But what I saw was good.
I liked it. It was a good opener. It was a good opener because everybody was excited to see Adam Page. He's still, despite not having crowds for a year or two, he's still wicked over with the audience the way he should be with the live crowd. Brian Cage is an animal. I mean, he's jacked to the gills and he can wrestle and he can pick guys up and throw them and catch them and do all the things you expect a big guy to do, and is athletic like a small guy. So, I mean, I love this match. You know, it wasn't the best. I don't think it was the best match of the night, but I mean, there was no. When I say that, they were
that kind of match is not expected to, though.
You know what I mean?
There were no expectations of that being the match of the night, especially with the rest of the card. In my opinion,
with the rest of the things that were on there, was just a nice. It was a nice opening match. The right person went over. It furthered the story. Brian Cage has been relying on Team Taz to interfere on his behalf all the time, pretty much. And Adam Page on the last Dynamite said, "You leave those guys in the back and face me one-on-one to show that you can beat me without interference." Hook and Ricky Starks came to the ring. Ricky Starks threw the FTW title to Cage, and Cage threw it back at him, which ended up costing Brian Cage the match ultimately. But it furthers the storyline of the tension within Team Taz. It gets Adam Page back on his winning ways, so he can. He fell down the rankings because that loss to Cage, and now they're going to start building him back up. So he's eventually going to challenge Kenny Omega. Yeah, that's what I like. Good, solid wrestling match that furthers the stories. That's all I can ask for.
You know, I'll tell you.
What else could you ask for? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think with AEW, the thing that they're doing right now, especially so much better than WWE, is not only the story writing, it's the storytelling and the execution of the storytelling and the conclusions, the build-ups, like they're doing it the right way. The pace is right, the teases are right, the stories are well done, they're executed, they make you believe them. You know, you can't say that about, unfortunately, half of the WWE. There are some, there's reasons why we're tuning in every week. And listen, some stories are better than other, and that goes both ways. But I think consistency-wise, AEW right now has been doing a much better job. And the proof is in the pudding in that match. Just the whole way it went down systematically, but also concluded a big part of that story to then create and start another one. Because now what's going to happen with Taz and that whole crew? Is this going to be the turn for Cage?
Right.
There's a lot of questions out. There's a lot of things that can happen. So, they're doing it right. AEW tag titles, Young Bucks versus Kingston and Mox. I mean, on paper, that's
shit. This was a match.
On paper, that match is, that's a match that you think about and say that match could potentially be match of the night before you ever see it.
Oh yeah, and it might have been. I like there were. I don't know. The further we go, I might change my mind. But like that tag match, first of all, they got the version of Wild thing from the movie Major League, and the crowd loves loves this new music. Moxley
oh my god,
was so excited.
So
I'm not a fan.
Freaking awesome.
He just started throwing chairs.
I'm not a fan.
I like it, and then I like Eddie. So there were backstage reports that Eddie Kingston, because there weren't crowds, and because he's always I know Eddie Kingston, or I knew him years ago, always very down on him, like not down on himself, but like very critical of himself. So he thought that he wasn't over with the audience. He was like, oh yeah, no, I'm this like mid-card guy that they brought in, like, old gunslinger on his last ride and all this shit. And it's like, as soon as he got out there, the crowd cheering for Eddie Kingston. He didn't realize until that moment how big this whole thing was. And like, how, like he doesn't even realize that he should really be in line to be an AEW world champion with the work that he's been putting in.
And he will be.
So it was great to see the fans love those guys. Like, the fans love him. The fans love Moxley. The fans love Kingston. And then the Bucks come out and, they're, and the good thing is they're so good at wrestling. Yeah. Sometimes when you watch and you go, oh, yeah, this guy's the bad guy. Like I go, oh, Seth Rollins, he's the bad guy. And you have to boo the bad guy because he has the bad laugh and the bad. No, these guys act like fucking bad guys. They're coming out there and just assholes to everybody.
I will say
everybody.
This.
Seth Rollins comes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. I got to be honest. I love the Bucks. I've always been a fan of the Bucks, but I really think they're better faces than heels. I don't know. For me, I just have a very difficult time with them as heels. I don't know why. It's just a personal thing, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that's just
a lot of people feel the other way. Like the baby face thing. Like, I don't like.
They're very flashy.
It depends on when you first started seeing them. Yeah,
I've been watching.
They are flashy, so it's probably better suited for babyface.
Yeah, I just what
but like traditionally,
everything about them screams babyface. You know what I mean? Like the Young Bucks still look like they did, 20 years ago. They still look like Young Bucks. It's just I don't know. Either way, I'm a fan.
Well, you can't take away their hair dye. Oh man, one of them.
Yeah, I saw
the
that.
light in the hair. Yeah, no, you can't take anything away from their athletic ability. And this was a phenomenal match in the fact that like they did their high spot stuff, but it wasn't. You're wrestling with Moxley and Kingston. You can't just wrestle a flippy dippy bullshit match, and they didn't. They like It was a real like hard hitting wrestling match. There's no other way I can put it. It was a wrestling match. When you think like when I think of good tag team wrestling, and I know Moxley and Kingston are on a regular tag team, but this is one of those matches that I'll think of as like a great pay-per-view tag team match. This one,
how about that
Kenny
Shield
and Hangman against the so the and of course FTR Bucks was another great match, tag match. But yeah, the Young Bucks got the heat by putting their little fists out and doing the little shield bump,
pose,
and then trying to do a power bomb, and they tried to do the power
bomb. The
Roman Moxley like no
thing. No, he right before he did the ooh-ah, and then Moxley powered out.
Yeah, which was pretty great that they used it, they acknowledged it, and then he like kicked out of it. Like that was their thing. It was like, okay, he had to like get out of this move to show like he's not that guy anymore. So that's pretty neat. They brought the shoes back, the $10,000 Air Dior's. They were like slamming people with them and throwing them around, all kinds of shit. It was a fun match. I mean, I can sit here and just tell you how good it was for the next 20 minutes, but we don't want to do that.
Okay, then.
Plus, if you're a fan of tag team wrestling, watch the match. Yeah, we got it. All
right, Casino Battle Royal was next.
The next one. I mean, what else can we say? It was fucking awesome. Watch it.
Yeah. I think the rest of the matches we could spend the whole podcast on.
I know.
Well, yeah. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, we could do this for the next 3 weeks, giving an hour to each match, and it rightfully deserved.
Yeah.
So, what about the Casino Battle Royal was next?
Well, let's just put it this way. We got through 2 nights of WrestleMania in the first half of one podcast. And I think we're only on match number 4 right now with AEW. So what does that say?
Yeah, right? Yeah, we're spending a little more time on each match. Oh, man. Plus, sticks and stones. WrestleMania was 2 nights. It was a lot of matches. We had to hustle through a lot of stuff because it was fucking filler. AEW, thank God, AEW just does 8 or 9 matches. You're out in a couple hours. Like, it was a long pay-per-view. It was, it started at 7:30 and didn't end until midnight. 10. But like,
but it was one night.
Like I didn't. Right, and it was one night, and it didn't. I don't know.
It didn't drag.
It didn't feel. It wasn't one of those nights where, like, when we were in New York and they had 18 matches.
You felt
it was just the most, and then by the time you got to the main event, you want to see Becky Lynch win. You're just like, at the point, you're like, God damn it, Becky, just pin Ronda so we can fucking go home. Like, I was just at that point. You know?
And then sat in the car for 3 hours just to get out of the stadium because everybody stayed because once they saw the helicopter coming in with Charlotte, everyone's like, all right, we're staying.
Yeah, it was crazy. But it's paced better. I don't know. I like one night pay-per-views. I don't like.
Also, it wasn't 8 hours.
It's going to be 2 nights all the way.
Right.
Yeah,
but let's look at it this way. Pretty much, even when we do the pick'ems and we're joking around about it, you say, okay, let's run down the card. There's one match that we go, who cares? I don't give a shit. I don't even want to see it. It doesn't matter.
I love how we always have one of those matches.
We have at least one match on every card that we're like, who gives a shit? Bathroom break. Okay, we spend more time in the chat room during that specific match than we actually do watching the match. We were all pretty radio silent the other night, except for every now and then, like, holy shit, oh my God, did you see that? We did not.
Every so often we'll say,
anything big, but for me to be pay-per-view, it's like, I can pay attention for
we were just watching. We were all watching.
We were all mesmerized watching. We were not having our usual shit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because it felt like, I don't know, it felt good. There were crowds, they were singing along, they were cheering, they cheered they cheered the people they were supposed to cheer and booed the people they were supposed to boo because the story worked out. It wasn't because somebody pushed a button.
It's not because of the Thunderdome.
Like, it felt natural. Like, this is
Which, by the way, Ryan, it's work phone being on there last night.
So it doesn't matter.
I was gonna ask, how was that?
Horrible.
What was that?
Thunderdome last night. Beyond.
Made it different.
Like, they were telling people and everything to, like, not that this is a problem, but like, don't forget to stand for the national anthem, whatever. They didn't even play the national anthem. So why the hell did they want all of us standing? Yeah, they wanted us standing, do that whole salute thing. So that way,
did they want to see everybody's crotch on the webcams?
I know. There's a reason why I'm off camera right now. And guess what? I wanted to be, but it was so
usually you don't wear pants. Like I don't know. I don't wear, like, I'm wearing shorts now, but like usually if you're on a video chat like this, you're not standing up because then people see your dangle.
Like, really? Well, not on me particularly, but you know.
Your dangle.
Oh
yeah, but
Einhorn is a man. It was
Einhorn is single.
It was so stupid. Like, they wanted us. They're telling them to do a "Let's Go Reginald" chant. No, thank you. That's okay. I'm like, why?
What's the point?
Exactly. You're not going to hear it.
I was gonna. like there's no audio coming through.
Nope.
So what's the point of yelling at your camera?
That's what they wanted them to do. They said, let's see the reactions. I say for Shayna Baszler and everything like that. Come on, scream at the camera. I'm like, why the fuck am I going to scream at a camera?
I mean,
right.
I mean, I'll do it with
so
you guys,
stupid.
but that's different. It was like, it was just.
There's you're being heard.
Probably the worst.
No, not for.
I have let the kids spin on ever. I'm like, really? I'm like, no, this is, I'm like, Alex is like, I'm bored. Can I hang up? I said, yes, go ahead.
So before we get into Raw,
we got
the Battle Royal.
Yeah. So
that's where Leo Rush made his
right.
The big
his big debut.
was the Joker was Leo Rush, although he got eliminated. But it wasn't his. It was a battle royal for a shot at the world heavyweight champion. You're not really going to give it to the guy on his first night in, so I understand.
Yeah. Also,
plus he probably
no offense to Lilo Rush, but it's not going to be a Lilo Rush.
No, it's not. He's not like he should be working with like him against Darby Allin would be a great match. Him against Jungle Boy, the guys his size that square up. And now, of course, I say that, and Jungle Boy wins the battle royal, but he's mega super duper supernova friggin' asteroid hitting the earth over
like Rover.
I guess right. Like they play that friggin' Tarzan boy song, and then everybody sings along. And he comes out and he's got his little midget friend and the fucking dinosaur. Like it's a whole thing.
I'm very happy for him though.
Great
that they gave him the win.
Yeah,
I kind of wanted Christian to win.
Well, because it was down to Christian
and Hardy,
it was down to Christian and Jungle Boy was the final two, and and Jungle Boy. I mean, they gave him the rub. The veteran guys put this kid over in a battle royal so he could be set up to have a good,
which is the right move, and that's something that WWE. I don't think this scenario would have worked out the same. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so happy for this kid. It's like Ryan says. I was hoping for Christian. Listen, I'd be okay with it, but it doesn't need to be Christian. Give it to the young kid.
Right,
give it to the one that's been working his ass off since day one. You know what I mean?
And this is what we're talking. Like, this is kind of the same thing. Not like I almost feel like some of this was a response to the way WWE booked the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania this year, because Edge won the Royal Rumble and then they just like shit all over him, and now he hasn't been on TV in so long. So at that point, why give it to a veteran and fucking bury him? Give it to somebody who's young and working their way up and give them the Rumble win so they get a credible title shot. And that's what they did with Jungle Boy. They put him over the veteran, literally Edge's tag team partner. And, so I feel like that was a little bit of a shot across the bow. And then the main, the triple threat, which we'll get into as well, I think was a shot at WWE's triple threat from WrestleMania.
Yes.
But anyway, around that time, so Jungle Boy wins, big moment. The whole crowd, loves it. They're going wild. Christian comes in and gives him a pep talk. It's like, I thought he was going to turn. Everybody thought he was going to turn heel.
Oh, yeah.
Christian gave him a pep talk instead. Crowd goes ape shit. And then we get a big announcement. And what you heard earlier, somebody going to get their ass kicked. Somebody going to get their wig split. Whoa, hey. Whoa, hey. Whoa, hey. It's Mark Henry. Mark Henry is all elite. Analyst is what they're saying. Mark Henry
what a nice
was
surprise.
on Busted Open. Yeah, Mark Henry was on Busted Open, I guess, either yesterday or today, to say that it was analyst more in terms of like the backstage stuff, like I was talking about earlier, like finding those new recruits. For
Isn't
AEW.
it a multi-year deal as well?
Yeah, listen, he's a good resource, I think, like I said, to just have as a recruiter, even if he doesn't wrestle, just to have him backstage, helping people out, helping the big guys out, putting matches together.
He did say he wanted one more match.
Awesome.
I doubt they are going to turn him down.
No, and especially because he got himself in shape.
Oh,
he lost a whole bunch of weight, so he looks great.
He looks incredible.
Mark Henry.
I don't think I'm not saying
looks
put
incredible.
the belt on him or anything. Just have him wrestle a match. Yeah,
but that's just that he doesn't need it. He doesn't need a belt. Just let him go out, have a match or two, have maybe a feud. But at the end of the day, it's what a huge asset for them to get somebody like Mark Henry. And I did read that he did talked to Vince about it too. And Vince was very supportive and said, I'm not happy about it, but if you feel like it's something that you need to do, I understand. And, so he took it well. And, and that means something because, Mark Henry will still have a relationship. It's not like it was a bitter type of thing. Similar with Christian, because I think that was a conversation ahead of time too.
And Jericho.
And Jericho, obviously, I mean, he was on the Austin podcast, so obviously that's okay. So moving on, Anthony Ogogo, Cody Rhodes.
And this was probably just by default the weakest match of the night.
Yeah, unfortunately, right?
Ogogo is, only because Anthony Ogogo is green. There wasn't a ton of heat for this
it definitely
match.
was not Cody's fault.
No, and I mean, it was like, here's the thing. This match, there's no delicate way to say this. Cody Rhodes intentionally booked this match as USA versus Britain on like 3 weeks' notice because he found out that he couldn't register the trademark for the American Dream on behalf of his father, who's passed away, because it has not been used in an entertainment context towards a certain person within a certain amount of time. Like Dusty's not out there performing as the American Dream anymore, so he can't really get. So he had to take the nickname of the American Dream and use it on TV so that when he files for the trademark or the copyright or whatever, he can say, see, I used it on TV. There's precedent. Please let me register this name. So the whole storyline behind it, I mean, there's this whole factory thing, but really the USA Britain thing was kind of, I don't want to say tacked on, but it was added on very late to accommodate this American Dream copyright application. And listen, it's a hard sell. Anthony Ogogo hasn't really. It was his like second ever real match. He's still kind of new and
still good for considering everything.
He's still good. Oh no, I mean, listen, I'm not saying he's a bad job. But what I'm saying is there's not the heat there. Like he was the bad guy. Like usually with with somebody who's in their first couple of matches, you want them to be the baby face and you want a heel to be in there to kind of lead them through the match. There were points in that match where and this is just me picking it apart because I've been watching wrestling too long. If they go back and review this tape, there were times when Anthony Ogogo could have played to the crowd more, or mean mugged and like put on a little more of a face to try and get more heat on himself. Like he would get Cody down and like beat him down, but then there would be times where he was just kind of like standing. He should have been posing more or like going right at the people in the crowd. You know what I mean? Like I would have done a lot more of that to try and build more.
I think that's still crowd rust,
but
though.
That's something that comes with time.
It could also be crowd rust.
Yeah, I mean, it was just right. And listen, it's one match out of a handful of them, and it wasn't like
it wasn't a bad match. It just wasn't a showcaser.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
it wasn't Alicia Fox versus Melina. You know what I mean? It wasn't a bad match at all.
You say Alicia Fox versus
people just people automatically have a problem with. Yeah,
that's not even worthy of calling a match.
That was that was Cameron's favorite match on Tough Enough right before.
Oh my God, I remember that. Stone Cold wanted to Stone Cold kill her.
Yeah, Stone Cold's like, "What's your favorite match?" And she goes, "Alicia Fox versus Melina." And you're like, "What?"
You Googled that shit.
It's real. Anyway, it was
so bad.
It wasn't a bad match. It was just, I don't know. It wasn't
in the top, compared to the other matches. It wasn't comparable to them.
And
as
I don't think, you couldn't have the same. You couldn't expect Anthony Ogogo to rise to the Young Bucks level in the second match ever. So whatever, it's fine. Like, here's the thing. I almost don't mind that because when I used to watch WCW back in the day, you would see a guy and it would be like, oh, it's their first couple times out. Oh, it's a little rough. And then they got better and you watched them improve. They didn't just like sit in a warehouse in Florida and train. And the WWE Performance Center, they're getting better, but they're getting better in front of fucking nobody in a warehouse. Like these guys are getting better in front of a crowd. Every week they're learning in front of a live crowd. So like, that's what I like. That's part of the investment is finding a wrestler you like, and you go, he's not so good, but I like him. Maybe he'll get better. And then when he gets better, you're like, hey, I was a fan from the beginning. That's kind of like the different, that's how I feel about the AEW stuff. Is there are young wrestlers that like Darby Allin would have just been in the performance center. He would have been in NXT for 5 years, and by the time he debuted, they would have named him, whatever, Shlomo McButterpants or whatever the fuck, and like he would be out there in some stupid costume.
and then drop him after 6 months when he doesn't perform to the standard that they want.
Instead of instead of a skull, he'd have yellow butter painted on his face, and he'd dress like Land O'Lakes girl, and like
he'd come out with the New Day, and he'd have a half pancake face.
Right, you have pancake on one side and butter on the other, and they'd be like, "Why isn't McButterpants getting over? We gave him a new name, we gave him a new gimmick." It's like, no, we liked him better the other way. Anyway, enough about my fictional Shlomo McButterpants Darby Allin character. It was, that Cody Ogogo match was what it was, and we'll just it furthers the story. We're gonna see what happens between Cody and the Factory and QT Marshall. So, on to the next one.
TNT Championship, Miro, Lance Archer.
Ooh, boy. This was
God,
hard-hitting match.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of knew it was going to be, though, right? Like, the build to this one, too.
I'm just so glad they let somebody figured out how to use Miro, Rusev, whatever that you want to call him, because the shit he's doing now is freaking amazing. And if anyone goes back and looks at like Rusev Day shit, you wouldn't, even though I loved Rusev Day, you wouldn't think it's the same person.
No, I mean, he's gotten better shape. He's got a whole different look, whole different attitude.
Better attitude.
It's great to see him rise above like the garbage that they gave him, and his wife being married off to Bobby Lashley and all this other happy horse shit. Or the time they tried to marry her off to Dolph Ziggler, and he had to throw a fish at her. This is cold fish. You are fish. Like fish. This is your fish. Like what the fuck? Like nobody. Like you have this big. Look at what he did. This is what everybody was saying for years with Rusev. Just let the guy go out there and beat the shit out of people and be a big mean Bulgarian guy. And they're like, no, can he dance? How about we get him on the Southpaw Regional Wrestling and they were talking with a Southern accent? You know what I mean? They're going to find bullshit for him to do, It's like, just let the guy do what he's supposed to do. This is what Rusev was always supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And how about getting rid of the
John
snake?
Cena thing? Yes, okay.
This was the best
2.7
or whichever.
Yeah. The reincarnation of Damien.
I don't think he was reincarnated after he got thrown around.
Reincarnated and put right back.
Jake comes out with the bag. Makes like he's going to open the bag. He keeps teasing the bag, so I'm like, something's funky with this bag. I kept making like he was going to take a snake out. Miro grabs it and just yeets the fucking bag across the stage. And it slams on the stage, and you're like, okay, this is obviously a fake snake, but that's such a good
hope
idea.
to God there's hamburgers in it again.
Why has nobody done it before? In 40 years, nobody thought to take the bag and just throw it the other way?
That's so funny.
It's great. And then afterward, Rusev.
You'd have to carefully throw that back in the day because it would probably end up in the crowd.
That would be right.
Oh, I would have loved
he
that.
landed it on the stage. Oh, they opened it up and it's just a pantyhose filled with ground beef like they did with Earthquake.
Yeah.
That's how they made Damien back in the day for Earthquake.
But see, I would have been all over that bag though if I caught that bag in the audience with a snake. I would have been happy as a pig and shit. I would have put that thing on and everything.
For sure. So I just like that they did that. They involved the snake. Miro went on Twitter afterward. And he's like, I don't give a shit about PETA. I don't give a shit about snakes, the whole deal. I'm like, okay. He's really leaning into it. And I like that he's riling people up that were crying animal abuse.
Oh, PETA went insane.
I have to make...
Did they?
I have to make a musical... I have to make a musical thing for us to play to introduce a segment called Dumb Wrestling Fan of the Week.
Yeah.
Dumb Wrestling Fan of the Week. And like you do the song and you're like, this week's
and
Dumb
the winner
Wrestling Fan is PETA. The people for the ethical treatment of animals.
PETA has been after Jake. They've been after
how could
Jake
you be
Roberts.
that dumb?
they've been after him for years. It started with when John Tenta crushed the hamburgers. They have
been fake every time they do something to the steak, it's fake.
Listen, well, apparently not, because when you open the bag, a steak comes
listen
out.
to me. Pete, I don't know what to tell you. Can somebody, hello, McFly, can somebody in there hear me? It's not real. It's just not real. Holy shit. Who believes
this is
that
the time we'll admit something's fake?
Right.
Yeah. Every other thing in wrestling looks fake, and then he throws a snake, and all of a sudden it's fucking real. Did Vince McMahon
It's still real to them, damn it.
No. Did Brian Pillman shoot Stone Cold Steve Austin? No.
Wait,
here's
what?
my favorite from Kat earlier this week.
Well, apparently Elizabeth, dumped Randy Savage for Ric Flair and his damaged goods. Yeah.
The other dumb wrestling fan of the week was the person on Facebook who thought that the storyline from 1996 Monday Nitro, where Ric Flair brought in Miss Elizabeth to steal Macho Man's alimony money, was real. They thought it was real. And that in 1996, that was the real story of what happened in the relationship with Macho Man and Liz. That's dumb wrestling fan of the week.
Why would you hook up with him? How is that? Have you ever fucking heard of a work? Oh my God. Ask Ryan. That's exactly what I wrote.
Dumb.
Oh, I know. He got worked.
I'm like, I felt like saying swerve. You got swerved,
for 20
whatever.
Years, though, 30 years.
Freaking idiots. These people still believe that shit. There was that one, and then the other one. I don't even remember what the other one was, Ryan, but someone was like, well, Randy physically abused her and everything. So that's why she was so eager to go with Lex, because she was used to being physically abused. I'm like, what did you just say?
I can't, we don't even have time enough in the show for me to pick apart how fucked up that whole statement you just said was.
Yeah.
Yep. I know.
She's used to, okay, I can't even.
Every word was like a nail into my brain.
Just a sharp pain in my temples.
Ask Ryan. I wrote like a paragraph. I tagged Ryan in it.
What was the next AEW Double or Nothing match?
AEW Women's Championship. Sheeta versus Dr. Britt Baker.
Some people didn't like it.
Now, what didn't they like?
I saw some mixed responses online. They're like, oh, the girls didn't wrestle at the same pace as the earlier women's match, and they look sloppy and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, listen, I don't fucking whatever. They went out there. The crowd went bullshit for both of them. The crowd was excited for everything, and they went wild when Britt Baker won. Everything you want to happen in a live audience in wrestling happened.
Did it look sloppy to you, Vince?
I thought they kept. There were times I thought they were gassed out. Yeah, but I didn't think it was. Here's the thing: there was a point in the match where one of them tried to do a suplex, but had a hard time getting the other one over, and I can't blame them for that because it's probably fucking hot out on Memorial Day weekend in Jacksonville, Florida. So if you're tired, I mean, she didn't drop her on her head. She just had a little bit of trouble getting over on suplex. And there was one other time, but
that also shows a little realism to it, though. They're deep in the match, they're tired. That's not sloppy to me.
Right.
Yeah, I was waiting for Vince to finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not sloppy. I don't think it is. That's what people are saying was sloppy. The other thing that I liked, which people might have thought was sloppy, was where really was when the two girls. Did you see the two girls go back and forth with either punches or slaps? And I was looking at those slaps, and I was like, oh, they didn't take it. They weren't working. They just went in and slapped the shit out of each other a couple times.
They did miss contact a couple of times, but it wasn't anything major.
No, but I really liked that they went in there was one point I think they just had a miscommunication or something because Britt goes over and friggin' she potatoed Sheeta, and then Sheeta came over with a receipt bang. And I was like, oh, we're having fun tonight. I don't know. I thought it was a hard-hitting women's match, and the story was Britt Baker kept trying to go for the lockjaw to get the submission, and she couldn't get it in, and Sheeta would out-wrestle her, and all these other things would happen, and finally through it all, and the interference and the ejection of Rebel and using the title belt, but then Sheeta still kicks out, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, Britt Baker gets the lockjaw in, gets the tap out victory. New women's champion. I don't think Sheeta loses anything by losing this match. She's still a fucking superstar. And Britt Baker is now the biggest name in the AEW women's division, creeping up on biggest name in women's wrestling right now.
She's got the momentum right now. I love everything. Her heel turn has been fantastic.
Yeah.
That really turned her entire career around. And you know who's been a big help? Shivani. Shivani's put her over big. Yeah. You know, and that means
was
something.
Nice. And having come over and congratulate her after the match. People are like, oh, she's a heel. She can't. It's like, what? When wrestling fans watch WWE and they go, oh, shades of gray. Not everybody's a babyface. Not everybody's a heel. And they watch AEW, they're like, well, I don't understand this. It's too complicated. It's like, no, she's a real person. Real people, even if you're a bad person, can still have friends. Like, it's just a thing. Like, Tony doesn't
or be excited for winning
when he talks about Britt Baker. Right. But when he talks about Britt Baker, he acknowledges that she's like kind of a dick sometimes. You know, like he even says it. He's like, sometimes she can be too much, but she's a hard competitor, this, that, and the other thing, and I really respect her. He explains his reason. People kind of just tune out and maybe they don't listen or they want to exclude some of this evidence to make AEW look bad. And it's like all of the shit that they complain about makes sense if you watch the program. And that's why I watch it, because it's enjoyable to me because I look at it and I go, okay, this all makes sense. Even if it's a little wacky and a little more out there, it still makes sense. And I just listen. I can't say anything bad about Tony Schiavone. And when I saw people shitting on Tony for hugging Britt Baker after that match, I'm like, you fucking nerds! Like, get a life. Seriously, just get a life.
Everyone's got something to say. They're not true fans. They don't get it. You know what I mean? They just don't get it. But listen, moving on. Sting, Darby Allin, Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page. I thought Sting looked great.
Sting
overall.
I don't know what kind of stem cell research, what kind of stem cell treatment they gave this guy. Like, I don't know what they pumped into him, but at 62 years old or 63, whatever it is, he ripped off
cross body off the top of the
off
the chips,
off the poker chips.
He pulled the Christopher Reeve from South Park. Oh, that's an awful joke.
But he did a great job. And then,
he did great.
He did the real test was because he always had kind of back and neck problems where, like in his later days wrestling in TNA, when he'd pull up for the Scorpion, he would almost just sit down and then just kind of pull their legs up. He didn't have the strength to hold up the Scorpion Deathlock in his last couple matches, and like he had it sunk in and pulled back. Like, aside from the gray hair and the whatever, and he's not as big as he was. This was Sting. What if you told me 62-year-old Sting? I go, yeah, that's what he could do. And he not only did he do that, he did it well, and then he did some other shit you wouldn't believe, like a dive. He did the fucking Yoshi Tonic sunset flip powerbomb thing. He didn't land it clean as a whistle, but like, holy shit! And Sting
at 62.
I mean, at 62, he's good. He gets it. Darby looks good. Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky both look, they're in great shape. I don't know if Scorpio Sky's promo is good enough for him to be a singles guy, but those I like Ethan Page. I like Scorpio Sky a lot, and
the finish was fun.
I don't think it hurts him by losing. It was a fun, the cutter, because Scorpio was on the apron and he jumped over the rope to do like an assisted kind of cutter, like springing off the rope, and Sting caught it. Oh man, the moment of the match might have been the opening where Scorpio did the suplex on the Sting onto the stage, and because everybody thought,
gets right back up.
62-year-old Sting just took a suplex on the stage. He's going to be out for the rest of the match and then make the comeback. He said, nope, I'm standing up. He didn't even take a 1 count. He just stood up. I know he's on the outside, but you know what I mean? He just stood up, ripped his shirt off, did the whole deal, King Kong thing, and then did the dive. And it was, it's you got to give the people what they want. And that's what AEW is doing. It was a feel-good moment with Sting. They didn't go out there and like make him wrestle Seth Rollins in this fucking match and where he gets his neck injured and all this shit. Like they had it planned out to right. That ended up meaning nothing because Sting jobbed out to Triple H and then Seth Rollins and then went away. So
I mean, Rollins gained nothing from it,
right?
And got hurt.
Yeah, and Sting Rollins got nothing from it, right? And Sting got hurt, but at least Sting's better now.
Yeah,
I like that match, but it's not. We got some other ones to get onto.
Still makes me pissed
right?
we didn't get a Undertaker match with how good Sting looked.
Yeah, well, Sting is too. Sting is mad about
Who
that.
could blame him?
Sting's still a little salty. Yeah,
Omega versus Pac versus Orange Cassidy.
Yes. So real briefly on the Sting thing, Sting, when they started doing those promo videos for whatever it was, like 2012, whatever it was, with the log cabin and the lightning, that was supposed to be for Sting, and then Sting turned it down. So then that ended up being Bray Wyatt or somebody that year.
No, it was Undertaker.
2 years later when Sting came in, right, it was Undertaker, but who was Undertaker facing that year?
2012?
I don't remember. But it doesn't matter.
I'll get it back to it.
Yeah. So anyway, 2 years later, it was probably Triple H. I think it was Triple H in the Hell in a Cell. I think. End of an era. But anyway, Sting was supposed to sign. He didn't. They ran those vignettes and it ended up not being for Sting, even though it was supposed to be. And then 2 years later, when Sting came into WWE, Sting was like, hey, we're going to do that WrestleMania match. And apparently The Undertaker turned it down because Sting had turned it down 2 years before that. And it's just like, motherfucker, we were this close.
It hurts.
Triple threat match. Yeah. Threat match. Kenny Omega defends his championship against Peck and Orange Cassidy. And all three of these guys are fucking over and the crowd loved them. And Kenny Omega is a great wrestler, maybe the best in the world. But I'll be good goddamned if Orange Cassidy is not up there too. Holy shit.
And over like Rover.
And Peck is no slouch each.
No.
Yeah. I mean, how he's the guy wins. Orange Cassidy, even though he doesn't win anything, wins. He doesn't take a whole lot of bumps. He goes over. He looks good. The people like him. He gets to make money wrestling.
That gimmick has no right to work, but it works.
It
like that
works
laid back. He embodies it.
Right. The laid back stuff shouldn't work. But it's because he's such a good actual technical wrestler.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with Colt Cabana. There's a comedy element to Colt Cabana.
Yeah.
But you can't be funny in something unless you understand it really well. That's why, like Weird Al Yankovic, they go, well, Weird Al is actually a really good musician. He understands music. And that's why he can write the parody songs when he writes them. In order to be funny about something, especially physical comedy, you have to understand it really well. Orange Cassidy is just like a really solid lucha libre style trained wrestler. He trained in Mexico. He trained with Chikara. Pac is just a little fucking fireplace. He can do anything. He wrestles like a heavyweight. He wrestles like a cruiserweight. He's only like 5 feet tall. He runs around like a little fucking elf. And then Kenny Omega is just a madman. I mean, it was a fun triple threat. There were a lot of false finishes. There were a lot of times where they go, oh, we're going to have a new champion. And they pull the rug out from under you. And ultimately, the heel goes over. Don Callis kind of interferes. This is why I think it was a shot at WWE's triple threat. Because A, it didn't go on last. And B, it didn't make the other two wrestlers look like dog dick in the finish. No, like everybody,
not at all.
Kenny Omega looked good by winning, and the other two guys were protected in the way that they
still looked like they
still put on a good performance, and then right, exactly. So overall, no complaints on that one. I think it's very good. What do you guys think?
I think this pay-per-view was like an A-. I mean, and I don't know the last time. I don't know the last time I've graded any wrestling pay-per-view an A anything. So, I mean, that's amazing. It really was a great pay-per-view. That match was fantastic. And I agree with you. All three of them. I mean, they're just, they are just absolute animals together, and it created a great match.
Those guys puts on a good puts on a good match. And I think Orange Cassidy, I don't know if he'll ever win the world title, but I think he could be the next TNT champion.
Easy.
Anytime.
Oh, I can see that
they
easily.
Want to put that
100%.
Or they've also been talking about trios titles.
That'd be fun.
Really chap Vince McMahon. Well, the thing they should really try and do to fucking fuck with people just to be assholes would be to try and trademark the name the Freebird titles. Don't call it a trios title. Call it the Freebird titles. Yeah. And then any 3 people in your group can defend it.
What will LAX say about that?
Yeah, you got Team Taz. You got the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy and Chris Statland. You've got so many factions. The Elite, the Factory, the Nightmare Family. Everybody's kind of in a faction. So you could have 3 guys in the faction go for these trios titles.
Or even more.
It's perfect
why not
for
a whole...
Best Friends and Orange Cassidy, I think. Well, that's what I'm saying. And then any 3 of your group could
yeah. I see what you're saying.
Defend the title at any time.
I thought you were talking having a tag team in Freebird.
Oh no, they're gonna have. I think they're gonna do a.
Yeah,
trios.
I see.
They're gonna do a trios title.
I see.
Freebirding a trios title would be cool. Because then they could get like Chris Statlander in there as part of the Best Friend. You know what I mean? Or like if Penelope and Kip could have a 3rd member. Whatever. Anyway, that's just speculation. The trios title is coming. We just don't know when. The main event, double main event because there was a one-title match. This was the sequel to Stadium Stampede, Stampede 2. And
it was so good.
My God.
It was very good. It was very different. Last year was, obviously, there was no crowd at all. They were doing a lot of comedy spots. And not that there weren't comedy spots, there still were.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cool... There were a lot of cool things that I know that I liked about this match. One of them, Brian Alvarez and Wrestling Observer brought up, was that they kind of walked through the pandemic throughout the match. They started in an empty arena with no fans, and they worked their entire way through Daly's place and came out to fans. And as soon as the wrestlers came out, the fans, and when Sammy and Sean Spears came out, and the fans just went fucking bullshit. And they finished the match there in that ring instead of finishing it in the stadium. I didn't think of it like that. The action, the fights, and how about this one? I don't know if you heard this one yet. Chris Jericho revealed after in the post show interview, that the fight choreographers from John Wick helped them put together the fights.
That's awesome
in the Stadium Stampede.
That's fucking cool.
I love how they branched off and you had little mini matches inside the big match.
Right.
With Conan in it too.
In the Conan.
Oh, man. That was so cool.
That was fantastic.
Tully Blanchard was dressed. I know Tully Blanchard was dressed like somebody who would have been tough in the 70s. That's not a tough look. 70s and 80s, that's a tough look. In 2021, it's a tough look, tough in a different way. But hey, you know what? The guy is 60-something years old with no sleeves on. Good for him.
You know how we were talking before, like about Miro and Rusev and everything, and like same thing with how they're using Jack Swagger, Jack Hager, however much you want to call him or whatever. I fucking love him the way he is now. And I used to despise him in WWE.
I couldn't stand him. And he's not the focus. He's not going to be the world champion. He's a guy in the spot.
But he's good in that spot. Yeah. It's like he's not being wasted, but he's not being overutilized either. He's in the perfect spot. Same with what is it, Ty Dillinger and everything. They have them in perfect. They're utilizing the talent perfectly.
And FTR looks like they're having a good time now.
Yeah.
LA, I can't wait because they're going to do more FTR versus LAX tag matches, I'm sure. Just those 4 guys. And those are going to be awesome. I can't wait. Because now I'm waiting for LAX to enter the tag team title picture again. And I know there's the whole story with the Elite that we have to get through.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's LAX
it could be
is
a
on
mid,
the books
like
for
a
winning a tag team
mid-stop.
title.
on the way on the
Right.
story.
No, I think.
But what about
Yeah.
What about the entrance for the Inner Circle?
Oh yeah, they rappelled down the scoreboard while the Inner Circle logo and the flash. Oh my God, that was very cool. Apparently, they tried to buy the rights to Back in Black, but they couldn't afford them, or AC/DC wouldn't let them use it or something. Which is fine because Judas is. I mean, you needed to have Judas. You needed to have the sing along, right? And this is why, again, I think the way they position the triple threat match and then the way they position the Stadium Stampede is a shot at the way WWE booked WrestleMania, because the heel went over and retained the title, but then the show ended with the baby faces going over and the fireworks and the sing-along and the whole thing. Again, I just think Bianca Belair should have closed out the last night of WrestleMania beating Sasha, and that's 100%. The big moment. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take away from what Roman did, but it makes you walk away from WrestleMania not with a sour taste in your mouth.
Well,
you be mad about Kenny Omega winning?
How many WrestleManias actually ever really ended with a heel win? Besides this one.
Jesus.
With the exception of everyone hating the fact that Roman Reigns defeated The Undertaker.
Triple H with Booker T.
Oh, that was the... Yeah,
I'm trying to think.
I blocked that one out.
Only a couple. Yeah, there are only a couple. But anyway, like what I'm saying is the show ended with baby faces going over. The team that if they lost, they had to break up, stayed together. Sammy, the guy who surrendered the last match, and Chris Jericho got pushed off the cage because of it. Sammy is the one that gets the win, gets the pinfall, and gets all the glory, and now he's a single star. And Jericho, again, puts over fucking 8 guys at once because he's amazing. And the show, I mean, when the show ends with a sold-out Daly's place and everybody's singing Judas, as much you might be sick of the song, you might be sick of Austin Gunn singing the song every week for 2 years because he was the only one in the audience that knew the words. But the crowd needed that. The crowd needed that moment of Judas and singing along and it was the perfect ending to top off, as Steve called it, an A+ show or an A- show. I think it's like a 97 or a 98 out of 100.
Yeah,
very few things to dislike in that show.
Amen.
We'll talk about everything WWE next week. We'll have a lot to get to, but it is that time, folks. We are at the top of the hour.
Do we have to talk about WWE?
There are some things we should touch on.
I know. Yeah, we get to talk about Hell in a Cell, where we're going to have Reginald versus Nia Jax in a cell.
I don't think anyone will believe who's challenging for the WWE title. You have to turn in next week for that.
Oh, are we gonna tease something that didn't actually happen?
No, it happened. I was just joking that it was the most predictable thing ever.
Win?
Oh, close enough.
No, Gilbert didn't win then. All right.
No, McIntyre.
See, that would have been a real surprise.
McIntyre close enough at this point.
Yeah.
We're getting McIntyre again.
If Gilbert won a match to become #1 contender, I would genuinely be surprised. The fact that Drew McIntyre won, I'm not surprised at all. We've been seeing this.
That's what I was joking about.
That was his point.
Yeah, but I think Gilbert. Listen, I'm gonna make a petition.
Mm-hmm.
Gilbert needs to come back. Gilbert should be the one to beat Bobby Lashley.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
Oh shit.
Could you
and
imagine?
On that note, we'll see you next week, folks.
Yeah, guys, if you want to subscribe, go to @tagmeadate. We're gonna. All right, this is the end of the show. We're back next week, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time on a Tuesday night. Set your clocks. If you want to subscribe, @tagmeadate, tag me a date, no spaces. That's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, everything. Just look for @tagmeadate. You'll find it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notifications. Twitch.tv/War Report if you were on Twitch. Otherwise, find Facebook or the Periscope for when we go live, or the YouTube for when we go live. If you prefer an audio version instead of the video, you can go to our podcasts. The audio versions are on your favorite podcast app of choice. such as Google Play Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Subscribe. If you subscribe, then the audio version will be dropped a couple hours, usually hour or two after.
Yeah, it depends
the live
upload.
Show, goes up. Depends on how long it takes, computers and all that shit. But it'll get up there. So if you like to listen to it while you're at the gym or listen to it while you do laundry or whatever else, you can listen to it instead of watch. But we hope you do watch. We hope you tell your friends. We love wrestling. We love talking about wrestling. And if you know anyone that thinks you think would enjoy our show and enjoy our discussions about wrestling, share the show with them. Let them know. Post a link. It's one of those things where you gotta. I know how it is a podcast. You listen to one, you're like, I don't know if I like these guys, and you listen to a couple more, you're like, you know what, I like these guys. I think if your friend listens, they're going to enjoy. Please have them subscribe. We want more people to hear our stuff. We got a great audience right now. We just want a bigger audience. That's it. You guys, we love the support that we were getting. We love seeing the numbers go up every week, but we definitely want more of your friends to tune in. So please let us know. And that's it. So we'll see you next week, 6 p.m. on Eastern Time on a Tuesday evening for another edition of the War Report. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.